everyone, and welcome to Victoria's Cantina. Today we're doing a hybrid between Top 10 and Cantina Chatter. And to help me do that, we have Nicole from JediMaster738 on YouTube. How are you doing today, Nicole?
Hi, I'm good, and I just want to thank you for having me on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining in. This is going to be pretty fun. What we're going to be doing is counting down our top 10 wish list for Star Wars The Black Series 6 inch. So you're a pretty big collector of this line, aren't you?
I am. I kind of switch. I balance between collecting the 6 inch and the 3 3/4 inch. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool line. I remember when they announced it back in 2013. I was kind of excited because I had been collecting 6 inch for other lines like for DC and Marvel, and all of a sudden they were going to be doing Star Wars in 6 inch, and I was like, okay, well I've been doing 3 3/4 inch for the last 20 years or so, so now I'm going to be doing 6 inch, and it's kind of a fresh starting point. And some of those early figures that they showed off looked great, like the Luke in the X-wing outfit, the Sand Trooper, very nicely detailed figures with lots of accessories. And, between then and now, we've gotten so many figures in this line. And we've finally gotten most of the main characters, I think, taken care of by this point in time, at least from the very original film. So there's quite a few figures in this line.
Yeah, I agree. I really love this line, and the amount of detail that they can put on these figures. That being said, though, since they haven't been doing it for as many years, obviously, as the 3 3/4, we're missing a lot of figures, and I think that there are a lot out there that people still want.
I know there are so many, especially from the prequels. Like they've only
Hmm.
barely scratched the surface on prequel characters so far, and ever since The Force Awakens came out, they haven't even really done any prequel figures. I don't think. So there's quite a few for them to tackle. Not to mention, still quite a few from the original trilogy and The Force Awakens. And if they wanted to round out, the Rebels characters and other expanded universe type characters, there's still ways they could go about to provide us all of those figures. I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to do going forward.
Yes, I totally agree.
So tell us a little bit about what you do on your YouTube channel.
Well, I do action figure reviews, primarily Star Wars. I am getting into the vlog atmosphere a little bit. I'll have a vlog up on, let's see, on Wednesday. It might be past by the time this video goes up, but I will have a vlog up, as well as I'm going to start doing some toy hunting videos. But it is primarily Star Wars action figure reviews and hauls.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm a huge fan of your videos. I've been watching them for a little while now. And, it's just so great to have like another, female Star Wars reviewer because there's really not that many of us.
Oh, thank you. I'm a fan of yours as well. I agree. It is really nice to see some ladies in the Star Wars collector world. I think there are probably more of us out there. They just haven't kind of ventured into the YouTube, media. But it is fun to come across other girls as well.
Yeah, that's what I think too, because when you look at YouTube reviews for toys in general, I mean, it generally is, a male driven sort of thing with toy review channels. And there's very few females doing it, so it makes me really happy to see you doing it. And, hopefully over time, we're going to see that change, and there's going to be more females doing reviews for toys and collectibles and, just getting into this whole sort of thing because, it's a lot of fun. And, just having, the dynamic where you have more of a balanced gender dynamic, I think, is a positive thing to see. So hopefully going forward, we see more of that.
I agree, yeah. And with these new movies coming out, we have some really awesome female leads, which I think are just grabbing in more of the girls. I know that when I was younger, we had very few kind of Star Wars like lead female characters, and so you kind of had to grab off of those and then enjoy the male characters as well. So I think it's really expanding and whatnot, and we should see hopefully some more females come into this fandom as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The female leads we've been seeing in The Force Awakens and Rogue One. Not to mention that, there's a new fan base that's younger generations that are coming on board into Star Wars. So, hopefully that'll help influence things where, we'll see more females, just doing their thing, collecting and showing their collections and talking about the collectibles and the films and all the awesome stuff that we like.
I agree, yeah, and I try to encourage people to get out and like make reviews. It's just super fun, like sharing, action figures and the collection, and it helps both like you for archival reasons as well as other viewers. I know that it's like enjoyed all around, and so I just hope that with our videos and whatnot, that we can kind of inspire some more people to get out and start doing it.
Absolutely. And it's a very good community. Like, you meet a lot of friends and a lot of people that also share their collections and, on social media as well. They get on there and show pictures of what they have and talk about their favorite pieces and do the reviews. So it's a really great little community of, really cool people that I'm sure that you've gotten to know and talk to and comment on your videos and comment on their videos. And it's just a really cool little dynamic.
I agree. Yeah, we live in a really good time period for this sort of online community. Because I know before that, back with like the original Star Wars Celebration and whatnot, the only time you really saw other Star Wars fans were at these big conventions and whatnot. And so now we kind of have it at like the palms of our hands, and it's super great.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited to get into this list because I'm sure I haven't seen your list. You haven't seen my list, so I have no idea what you're going to have on there. So I'm pretty excited to see what you have, and then we'll compare them. And so let's get into our number 10 pick for this top 10 Star Wars: The Black Series 6-inch wish list. So what's your number 10?
Okay, yeah. I'm excited to see if we have any that are similar in any way. But my number 10 is actually two figures. I just kind of grouped them together because they kind of go together. But that would be, I'd like to see Forlom and Zuckuss, because I know they've made a Bosk, a Boba Fett, and I believe they've made an IG-88. And so I'd like to
Yes.
finish out, yes, the Episode 5 Bounty Hunters. I think that would be great.
That's a very good point. They have done a few of those bounty hunters, and I'm sure it's just a matter of time before they'll get to them. So, those are really good choices. I didn't have any bounty hunters on my list from Empire Strikes Back, but yeah, I definitely like to see them round out those last few. That way we can recreate that scene on our shelves.
Yeah.
So for my number 10, I actually had Queen Amidala from The Phantom Menace. I was going to go with Padme from Attack of the Clones, where she has the white Geonosis outfit, which I think is kind of the more iconic sort of Padme figure outfit. But I know that SH Figure Arts, Bandai's coming out with one in a few months, which looks pretty fantastic. So I kind of thought, well, if they're doing one, then maybe Hasbro can do something different. So I'd kind of like to see just a regular Queen Amidala in the red outfit that she had at the very start of the film, which I think is a pretty, it's a very interesting look, of course. And when I think of the Phantom Menace anyway, that's one of the things I remember is just those opening scenes with her in that very fancy red outfit.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And that would be like super great to kind of break up the I think at least the way I have mine setting on my shelf, it would break up the colors. I have a lot of grays and darks, and I think seeing her in that red outfit would be lovely.
That'd be pretty awesome. So, number 9. What do you have for number 9?
Okay, so for 9 I have actually my Hoth outfit Leia. And I know they've made her in 3 3/4 inch before in several versions, but I would just really like to see her in 6-inch. They have made a few Leias, and I'm just hoping I would like to see one with a little bit of a better face sculpt. Plus, I know that we have the Hoth Luke and Han Solo, and so I think that they'd go really well together. The Battle of Hoth is such a popular scene for Star Wars that I think that it's kind of like a must, and I really hope they make that one.
Absolutely. And there's very few figures from Empire, so obviously we want to get the main characters, but like you also mentioned, the bounty hunters, and there's just so much from Empire that they
Yeah.
have yet to do. Luckily we've gotten like the Wampa and the Tauntaun, which were pretty fantastic, especially that Wampa is just pretty amazing.
Yes.
But I'd really like to see them, dig more into the Imperial officers and more of those other Episode 5 specific figures.
I totally agree.
So for my number 9, I actually had Han Solo in his Bespin outfit, which is an Empire figure, of course. And they haven't really done too much in the way of Han Solo. They did the very first one from A New Hope very early on in the line. And it's a pretty cool figure. I like all the accessories that he came with. The likeness is decent. Of course, then they did the Stormtrooper Han, and then they did the Force Awakens version. But the Bespin outfit with the jacket, I think is a very classic Han Solo look and a very popular look too. So I'd really love to see them finally give us that so that we can display it with, our other Han Solo figures or however it is that we display them on our shelves. I think that'd be a really cool one to add to the collection.
Yeah, I agree. The more Harrison Ford like figures, the better for me.
Totally. Okay, so what do you have for number 8?
My number 8 is actually Padawan Ahsoka, from the Clone Wars, and I know that we've gotten her in Rebels version before, which she's really, really cool. I'm very impressed with that figure. But I
Oh,
also would
yeah.
really like to see her in her youth, because we've obviously got the 3 3/4 inch figure. But she was such a popular character. She's a really leading character overall in the entire universe. And I think that everybody would really like to see a Padawan version of that. So a little bit shorter and maybe an Anakin to go with her, but he's not technically on my list. But
Yeah, that would be really great. I mean, there's so many Clone Wars figures that they could do, and yeah, a younger Ahsoka would be pretty awesome because, like you said, she did feature very prominently as a main character in the Clone Wars, and she did, like she did have, I think it was in season 3 where they switched the outfit.
yeah.
So would yours be more of a season 1 and 2 or more of a season 3 type look?
I've always been a real big fan of the original outfit of Ahsoka. I think that that's kind of to me, that's the most defining outfit for her. That's what I always think of her as wearing. And so I'd really like to see that one.
Right on. Yeah, that would be really cool. I really hope that they do that at some
Yeah.
point. So for number 8, I actually had Unkar Plutt. And he's just a crazy looking alien. Like when I first saw him in The Force Awakens, I was like, wow, this guy looks pretty far out. But
Mhm.
I mean, he does have a pretty important role within the film. We don't see him a whole lot, but when you look at those flashback scenes, I think he's in there. Obviously there's more to his backstory and his relationship with Rey and stuff. So, and not to mention the fact that it's a pretty interesting design. I think it would look really cool to see one of these guys in 6-inch form. So I really hope they do that at some point.
I agree. I really liked his smaller counterpart. I thought that it was great. I would love to see a really detailed 6-inch version of this guy. I thought he was a really cool character in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, just a crazy, and I'm sure you've seen that deleted scene. What happens with his arms? Poor guy.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so now we're down to number 7. What do you have on your list for number 7 in the Black Series wish list?
So I actually have I guess what's considered now a legacy figure, what they did with Darth Revan, and that's actually Darth Talon, and she was from the legacy comics that were produced by Dark Horse back in the like 2007 era. I just really liked her character. This was at a time when they had like a bunch of Sith, because it takes place way in the future. Of course, now it's no longer canon, but I thought that she was a really cool character. She's a Twi'lek, so and then she's tattooed like Darth Maul was, and so I really enjoyed her expanded universe figure, and I think that she'd make a great 6-inch figure too. And that way we get another Sith.
Yeah, that's actually a really good choice. I didn't even consider Darth Talon for my list. But yeah, I mean, when they did her back in, I think it was like 2009 or 2000, whenever they did her back in the Legacy collection, in the comic pack, that was a very sought after figure. And even
Yeah,
now, I think if you like on eBay, that set probably goes for like 100, $150. It's very
it does.
expensive.
It is.
Because she's a really awesome looking character. And yeah, like you say, she has the Darth Maul tattoos. When I was at Star Wars Celebration 4 in LA back in 2007, there was somebody that I saw there that did cosplay as her, and that was actually my very first exposure to that character. So it made me want to research her. Just seeing how awesome that costume looked. I went and looked her up and started learning about Darth Talon. So yeah, I mean that'd be awesome if they did a Darth Talon figure in 6-inch form. I mean that's really got to happen.
Yeah, I agree. She's kind of iconic in the expanded universe realm.
Okay, so for my number 7, I actually have Princess Leia Hoth, which I think was your number 9.
It was, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, that's definitely one that they need to do. I mean, like you said, they have done a few Princess Leias already, which have kind of been all over the place. The very first one they did, the Slave Leia, I thought was a pretty decent figure. I know a lot of people didn't really like it. I liked it quite a bit. And then they did the one in the Bouche disguise, which is quite a bit taller than the Slave Leia. The scale is just really strange. Likeness on that one's okay. It's not that great. And then, of course, the infamous New Hope version, which came out pretty recently. But yeah, I mean, Hasbro still, to me, hasn't really done like a definitive version of Princess Leia. So I think that if they did the Hoth one, obviously that's a really cool outfit. It's a very simplistic outfit, but it works very well. And that would give them an opportunity to do a new Princess Leia, hopefully with a perfect head sculpt that basically, redeems all the other ones that they've done in the past.
Yes, we can hope. Yeah, the Slave Leia right now that we have is probably my favorite out of those that have come out. But I'd still like to see one, yes, that looks more like Carrie Fisher. It would be great.
That would be really, really cool. Okay, so now we're down to number 6. What is your number 6 pick?
I have Grand Moff Tarkin for my number
Ooh,
6. Yes.
nice.
Um, well, I really like seeing the Imperials in 6-inch form. We have a lot of troopers, but we don't have very many officers. And so I'd really like to see that. Of course, Tarkin is probably like the biggest Imperial. And I think that it would be great. I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't made him already. I always feel like there's somewhat of a demand for General Tarkin since he never came out in the original Kenner line of vintage figures. I just feel like he's always kind of been asked for, and we've gotten so few versions of him that I just think he'd be great in a 6-inch form.
Yeah, they haven't really done a whole lot with Tarkin. Obviously, we only see him in one film. He's in the Clone Wars, he's in Rebels, but in the films, well, also in Rogue One now that I
Yeah.
think about it. But yeah, they haven't really done a whole lot with him in terms of figures. Like we got the vintage collection version a few years ago, and that one's a nice figure. I think the outfit was a little bit too green looking, but it's still a really nice figure. And then they, before that, I think it was Revenge of the Sith. They did a figure, and then the Power of the Force version before that. But yeah, I mean that it would be so awesome to see Tarkin because he's one of my favorite. I'd probably put him in my top 5 favorite Star Wars characters. I'd definitely like to see him make it into the line sometime.
Yeah.
So for my number 6, I have a ARC Trooper Fordo, which is from the Clone Wars micro series back in 2003, I think. Who he featured pretty prominently there, and then he was kind of one of the ones that went on the gunship with the other ARC Troopers, and then when they brought that back in 2005, he was in there as well with a different outfit. And Hasbro actually did, which is like one of my favorite like figures of theirs in the 3 3/4 inch line, which was that same character back in the vintage collection. And it has the interchangeable armor so that you can go from both looks, just a regular ARC Trooper look, or his the season 2 micro series for Clone Wars outfit that he had. And I think it was very innovative the way that they did that. They gave him the 2 helmets, the 2 pauldrons, and it's just very easy to switch the armor up. So, we have had a few clone troopers in the 6-inch line, mostly from Attack of the Clones, and then they've gotten a couple from Revenge of the Sith. So I'd really like to see them do the same thing they did with the vintage collection version in 6-inch. Just give us, the 2 options so that we can change him from one outfit to the other.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. I'm really glad that you actually picked one from the Clone Wars micro series. That's actually like my favorite non like live action Star Wars film, like movie or cartoon or whatever, out of all of them that they have made. I just really enjoyed the animation style in that. I'd have loved to see a clone trooper from that line.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that was. I remember back when that came out, like it had its own toy line, and it was kind of like. I wasn't really like Rebels because the Rebels figures are kind of peppered into the line here and there, but it was kind of had its own little line, and a lot of the stuff that was in that line wasn't even from like the show. It was just like stuff that Hasbro created. A lot
Yeah,
of fun stuff.
it was.
It was a lot of fun stuff, but yeah, the animation on that show was really cool. It had a different kind of style than most things at the time, and I remember I was taking a class at that time, and I actually used one of the episodes like to demonstrate my point. So it was kind of a fun thing to do, just thinking back.
Oh, that's fun.
But yeah, Captain Fordo is great, and I'd really like to see them do something with him in 6-inch. So it looks like now we're at number 5.
Yes,
Are
number
we at
5.
5? Okay, what's your number 5 pick for this wish list?
I actually have a clone for my number 5, and this one is Commander Gree. And
Ooh.
he is actually my favorite clone trooper out of all that they have come out with. I just really enjoy the green and his armor. I've gotten several versions of his smaller figures, and then I've got a master replica's helmet, I believe, like the scale replica. And I just like really think I think it's really cool. I'd love to get get the sideshow one where his helmet comes off and you can see his like double mohawk. But I think he'd look really cool in the 6-inch line. I'd really like it if they did a removable helmet or an extra head. And I'm hoping that that wouldn't be too much to ask for, because I know with the Darth Maul that they released, they gave him like a cape with an extra head that you could like remove in place of his normal one. And so I think that would be really cool to see, just to kind of change up, because like you said, we have some clone troopers in 6-inch form, but they're just like Attack of the Clones. They're pretty generic. I'd like to see, a character clone, I guess you could say. And I think that he'd be a really interesting one to throw in the mix because he's kind of uniquely painted.
Yeah, that's actually a really good choice. I love the Clone Trooper figures. Back to like when we started getting them back in like 2002, 2003. They were pretty amazing things, and then Hasbro was doing all the vehicles and stuff for them. In 6-inch, though, like you say, we haven't really had a whole lot of specific officers or anything from Revenge of the Sith. And Commander Gree is a very cool design. The paint, like you said, on him, the green, the metallic like colors and stuff, is really cool. And I mean, there's quite a few different officers they could do. But yeah, Gree's an excellent choice, actually. Like, you could pose him with your Commander Cody, or that would actually be a really cool little setup.
Yeah.
So for my number 5, and I'm sure we're going to get this at some point. Yeah, they got to be doing it at some point. It's just a matter of time. But I have Luke Skywalker from The Force Awakens. Because that, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, we see him for 5 seconds in the film. Obviously, he's going to have a much more expanded role in the episode 8, episode 9, most likely. But, and I'm really sure they're going to be doing it at some point. It's just one of those things that, they've made us wait this long. So I'm sure we're going to get him. But it's just one of those I'd really, really like to see, because I mean, there's a lot of mystery surrounding his where he is in terms of his timeline and his character when we see him in The Force Awakens. Not to mention, how different he looks from when we've seen him before, because it is a lot later, obviously. So I'd really love to see what they can, what this figure would be like, what kind of accessories he would come with. If he would have like a soft goods, a robe. I think it'd be a really neat thing to see.
I agree, and I'm actually surprised that they haven't made any old Luke Skywalker action figures yet, because I definitely know that the community is really looking for those, and I guess they're trying to keep it a secret, or his everything a little bit more shut up until the next movie. But I definitely know that people have been waiting for a figure or anything with old Luke Skywalker on it, so I'm excited for that one. Surely they have to make it.
Yeah, I really hope they do. And, with any luck, maybe this will be one of the episode 8 releases, when they have like Force Friday or whatever they do. He'll be one of the figures that they enter in with. I mean, hopefully anyway. That's what I'd really like to see happen.
I agree. I think that would be a good starting point. If they do another Force Friday, that would be a great figure to start out on, and it would have good sales, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. It'd be really hard to find initially, I'm sure. Okay, so now we're at number 4. What is your number 4 pick?
Well, staying on the topic of Luke, and Luke is actually like one of my favorite Star Wars characters, and so I kind of love him in every outfit, and I want him in every outfit. So my number 4 is actually Celebration Luke. I've always just loved the little yellow jacket and medal that he came with, and then him standing really proud at the end of episode 4. I just really like that look. And it was like that's probably one of my favorite outfits for Luke Skywalker. And so, of course, I'd love it to see it in a 6-inch form.
That's a really great selection. That's one of those outfits that it's not one of the first ones you think about, but then when you do think about it, it's kind of like, that's such a great outfit. Why didn't we see him more often wearing that?
Right.
But yeah, I love the yellow like leather jacket and the brown pants. It's a very Han Solo looking outfit, actually. And what I like also, is kind of off topic, but when you see Finn and Poe Dameron in Force Awakens, the jacket that they wear is kind of similar to Luke's ceremonial jacket. Like, it's kind of a similar look.
It is, yeah, style kind of.
Yeah, and yeah, that'd be a really cool one. I really like going back and looking at the old promotional images from A New Hope, and you see there's a lot of them of Mark Hamill wearing that outfit, and you see him with Carrie Fisher together, and there's somewhere he's holding his lightsaber, which obviously he never did in the film while he was wearing that outfit. But yeah, I mean, I'd really like to see them go through all the Lukes, and that's definitely that would definitely be the next one that they should do is Luke in his ceremonial outfit.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so my pick for number 4 is the Gamorrean Guard from Return of the Jedi.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the aliens. Like, I love, love, love the Cantina aliens, Jabba's Palace aliens, and all that stuff is just so awesome to me. And the Gamorrean Guard would obviously be a very large figure, very hefty. Maybe they would even need a bigger box. I don't know. But that's definitely one I'd love to see because the last one they did for the 3 3/4 inch line during the vintage collection is like for me, it's like a top 10 like all-time figure. It's just such an awesome design, sculpt, paintwork, articulation. It has everything. The accessories are great. So I'd really like to see how it would translate to a 6 inch figure because it's just a really cool design. And I'm sure that, if Hasbro really put their work into it, they could do such an awesome release for this character.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that I mean they managed to get Chewbacca in a box, and they charge the same price for Chewbacca as the other figures. I think they could probably
Hmm.
pull it off with the Gamorrean Guard as well. I think that would be really cool too because I know that we have some Return of the Jedi figures that go with Jabba's palace, and so seeing a Gamorrean Guard that would help people fill out some 6 inch dioramas and whatnot. I think it's definitely kind of a staple figure that I hope they make down the line.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because I remember when Chewbacca was first shown, a lot of people were thinking, well, how are they going to get him into the box? It's going to have to be a taller box. But no, they somehow or another they managed to pull it off. So yeah, you're right. There's a good chance that maybe they could get the Gamorrean Guard into a standard size Black Series box.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're into the top 3. We have 3 more items on our wish lists to compare. So let me know, what is your number 3 wish list for 6 inch Black Series?
All right, so I'm really getting into the kind of the prequel realm with these top three here. So number three is actually Kit Fisto. I first actually really got interested in him during the Clone Wars micro series where he like dives underwater. Or is that the comic? Well, I know they have an animated comic book. I think it was in the movie though, or the little cartoon where he like dives underwater.
Uh huh.
And I thought that that was super super cool. And I just feel like he's kind of been a Jedi that they haven't really produced that much out of like some of the others. And he just looks really, really aesthetically pleasing with all of his like little tails on the back, and he's got a green lightsaber. I just think he's a really cool figure, and I'd love to see him. We just have so few Jedi in the 6 inch line. I mean, we have the basics. I think we have Obi-Wan, Anakin, Luke, a couple others, but like we don't see very many like Revenge of the Sith era Jedi. And I think that it would be really cool to make one of those.
That's a great pick. There's so many Jedi in Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones. A few of them in the Phantom Menace, and like you say, Kit Fisto does have a pretty prominent role in the Clone Wars, both in the micro series and in the later version back from 2008. And yeah, I remember that underwater sequence. They did it in both versions actually. There was a much more expanded one they did back in like 2000. I don't remember if it was season 1 or season 2 of the newer Clone Wars, but yeah, Kid Fisto is a really one of the really cool designs for the Jedi because there's so many different aliens and so many different costumes that they use for the Jedi. Yeah, that's an excellent pick. I'd really like to see them do Kid Fisto too.
Hmm.
Now, I don't really have much. You mentioned Kit Fisto. I don't really have anything as far as goes on my list, like any of these alien Jedi's. But one that I would, and it's not on my list again, but I would really like to see them do an Ayla Secura figure. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that yeah, she's always been one of my favorite like Jedi designs, and they've done a few versions of her in the 3 3/4 inch scale. But yeah, that'd be a really cool one to see as well. Maybe they could just do a wave of Jedi figures with Kit Fisto and Ayla Secura and some of those other awesome characters.
That would be cool. Yeah, like they could release like a 3 pack or something. I'd pay for that for sure.
That'd be very awesome. So for my number 3, I actually have Darth Sidious from Revenge of the Sith. I was kind of torn between doing the one where he's wearing the red outfit, where he attacks, he duels with Mace Windu. I really like that outfit, and during that scene, of course, is when he transforms from just a regular Palpatine to the more evil-looking Darth Sidious. So one thing I was thinking was if they did do that figure, they could do like they did back in the Revenge of the Sith toy line, where they had the interchangeable heads. but that's actually not the version of Darth Sidious that I'd like to see. I would love to see that, but the one that I have here on my list is actually the outfit that he wears toward the end of the film when he's dueling with Yoda. He's wearing more of this. It's kind of more of a flowy sort of robe. It's like kind of like a gray color, and it has kind of like a felt or something for this like little cape that he's wearing around his shoulders. And obviously he looks really evil and stuff during that scene, and he's got his lightsaber. And we did get Emperor Palpatine a couple years back, which is a really good figure. I really was happy with Palpatine, but it didn't have a lightsaber, and it didn't have. He just had the basic black robes, so I'd really like to see them do a Revenge of the Sith specific Palpatine. And if they did, I'd most like to see him in this outfit with his lightsaber and maybe some Force lightning effects.
Wow, I love that you actually brought that up because I mean you're totally right. I think that when it comes to the Darth Sidious figures being released, they're always from the original trilogy. I feel like we see very few from like Revenge of the Sith, or if we do, it's going to be in that kind of like the red robe. That would be a really interesting one, especially for me. I actually missed out with getting the the Black Series Darth Sidious that released, and so I'd love to see another release and maybe in a different costume. That would be super cool, and especially with his lightsaber again. And I just like adding to the Jedi and Sith are kind of my thing that I really like collecting, and so I would love to see a lightsabered Sidious. That would be super cool, especially because that's how we remember Darth Sidious in Revenge of the Sith. In the original trilogy, he's more of just Darth Vader's mentor, and we never see him use his lightsaber. We just see the Force lightning. So I agree, that's a really good one.
Nice. And yeah, it is one of those things that they rarely touch on these days. Like back during the prequels when those toy lines were out, they would do figures of Palpatine and Sidious and stuff, but after that they kind of like died off. We haven't really seen a whole lot since then. We'll get the odd one here and there in the 3 3/4 inch line, but it's not very often that we see them. And even like Emperor Palpatine figures from Return of the Jedi, we don't see a whole lot of those either. But yeah, you're right. Usually when we do get an Emperor figure these days, it's based on the original trilogy. So yeah, I mean, if Hasbro's listening, hopefully they get to work on that Darth Sidious because, yeah, that'd be such a cool figure to see.
I agree.
Okay, so now we're down to number 2. What is your number 2 pick for our Black Series wish list?
All right, so with this, we are still sticking with the Jedi theme, and I chose this figure mainly, as funny as it sounds, because of the lightsaber, and that is Mace Windu. And I have always been a huge fan of Mace Windu's lightsaber. He's a cool Jedi as well, but I just love that his lightsaber is purple. And I think that, again, I think we need more Jedi kind of in the 6-inch wave, and he'd be a really cool one. I've loved most of the figures that they've come out with involving Mace Windu. He's a pretty simple guy to get down, it seems, and I think that he would just be great in the 6-inch wave. And if we get that Kit Fisto and that Darth Sidious, we could kind of set up a little scene here with him dueling those Jedi. I think that would be really cool.
I really like where you're going with this. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I'm surprised they haven't done Mace Windu because, like you say, it's not a really like complicated design. He's just wearing like the Jedi outfit, which is somewhat standard. Obviously, his would be a little bit different, but I mean, he is one of those figures that they've kind of nailed in the 3 3/4 inch line so far. So I am kind of surprised we haven't seen him. Bandai did one in the SH Figure Arts line, which I think is a fantastic figure. It's got an awesome likeness, and I'd have a hard time imagining that Hasbro would have a difficult time with a Mace Windu figure because, I mean, he's a pretty basic looking dude. And, if they did tackle him, I'm sure it'd be a pretty great figure. So, yeah, it's a really good choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, for my number 2 on here, I have Moma Nadon Hammerhead from the Mos Eisley Cantina. As I was saying earlier, the Cantina aliens are like my absolute favorite thing. And, I mean, you may have seen already, I have like a whole diorama dedicated to the Mos Eisley Cantina and Jabba's Palace. And it's just like kind of my thing. I love that even my channel name, Victoria's Cantina,
Yeah.
it kind of came from that. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd love to see them do more Cantina aliens in the 6-inch figure form. They did Greedo, and Greedo was kind of a bit of a peg warmer. He didn't sell that well, so maybe that's why they haven't released any since then. But if they did the numbers right and they packed them in the appropriate ratios and whatnot, I'm sure that more Cantina aliens would be a hit. And Hammerhead's like my absolute favorite Cantina alien. I love the design. I've always been really intrigued with his look and his costume, and just the character in general. So I think that if they did Hammerhead, it would like make me so happy to see, because he's just a really great design.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Which yeah, in your most recent collection tour that you had up, I saw your little Cantina diorama and it was so good. If they would release enough 6-inch figures to make another Cantina diorama, I think that would be absolutely amazing. And what's really funny is because I was thinking of my list and I thought you might pick that one because I know you like the Cantina aliens. I remember when I first got into collecting Star Wars figures, I really liked that guy for some reason. I liked him, and then and I cannot think of his name at the moment, but he was from the Clone Wars micro series, the same species, but he was the Jedi, and I just really enjoy the alien look to them. I think that they look super cool, and I think that he would be. I feel like he would be a really easy sell because I mean he's a really iconic Cantina character, and he looks really cool.
Yeah, there's so many Cantina lanes they could do. Like you say, I know who you're talking about. I'm trying to think of his name. It's like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't quite
Yeah.
come up with it at the moment. But yeah, that'd be a great one to see. And as you mentioned, like it'd be great if they could do more of these diorama pieces. Like if they did 6-inch scale dioramas, like a bar that you could build and put your cantina together. I mean, I would be all over that like immediately. Like that's exactly what I want to see. And they really need to do more set pieces, because when they do them, they work really well. Like they did the Comic Con exclusive Obi-Wan that had the little table,
Yeah.
and just stuff like that. Environmental pieces can really add, more of a fun element to these figures. And when you display them, it just gives them a little bit something extra to do. So, yeah, Hammerhead, I say, and, give him a little table or something where he can put his drink.
I agree. I like it.
All right, so now we're at the very top of the list, number one. And I'm really anxious to see what you have for number one, because I have something that might be a little surprising, maybe not so much to you, but let me know. What is your number one?
Okay. And this actually, when I was composing this list, this one came to the top of my head as my number one figure, and that is General Grievous. And I think that they could make him potentially look amazing in the 6-inch form. We've gotten some really cool 3 3/4 inch General Grievuses before, but I just think, I mean, if they do if they do the extendable arms where he comes out to 4 arms, I think that that would be great. They could like make a little feature to where he can go from 2 to 4. And then he can have all 4 of those lightsabers. Again, he would be kind of a bigger figure, but we have seen in the past that they can package those well and obviously still sell them for the same price. But I think he would look absolutely amazing. And we already have a Mace, or not a Mace Windu. We already have an Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith that could go along with him. I just think that he would be an amazing figure, and I hope y'all agree with me on that one.
Yeah, that's an excellent choice. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they haven't done a General Grievous up to this point. I mean, it's I don't know if it's obviously he's not on the level of Darth Vader. He's not on the level of like a Han Solo or anything like that. But I mean, he's just one of the really intriguing designs for the prequels, and very different from anything else that we've ever seen in Star Wars, even up to this point in time. And they have kind of nailed him in like the 3 3/4 inch line. But when you think about Grievous, and I'm trying to think of any 6-inch versions of this character, and I can't think of any. I don't think that like there's not a Mafex version, there's not a Figure Arts, there's not like anything for a 6-inch Grievous at this point. So I think if Hasbro could be the first, beat all those other companies to the punch, and give us like a really like top-notch Grievous figure with the soft goods cape and all the detachable like arms where you can have him in 2-arm mode or the 4-arm mode with all the lightsabers and the blaster and all that. That could potentially be like one of the coolest 6-inch Black Series figures like ever.
I agree. I think that they have the ability to do that. And I think that the response would be really well with it, especially since you said they haven't really made a General Grievous in any other 6-inch line. And so if they were to be the first, I think that he would be really sought after.
Yeah, the only one that I can think is I don't know if you collected the Unleashed line that they were doing like in the mid 2000s,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah, those were like 6-inch ish scale, I guess you you could say. They didn't really designate a scale or anything, but they were kind of like 6-inch, I suppose.
Yeah, that's
Obviously,
true.
they they weren't really like action figures because they were just like statues more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, and I think that they could up the detail even more than those. I had that General Grievous statue for a little while, and I think that, yeah, given the modern day technology that they have to kind of recreate these action figures, I think that if they did it right and put the time into it, that they could really, yeah, do a very revamped General Grievous that looked really movie accurate.
You know what's funny is I don't know if you saw the survey that Hasbro was running a couple months back, but one of the questions they had on there was, would you pay like I think it was like I don't remember it was $25 or $30 for a General Grievous figure? So it seems that they're at least floating the idea around of getting around to Grievous, and I really hope that that's something they do because that would be such an amazing figure.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I guess I hadn't seen that survey, but I would pay that for a General Grievous figure.
Absolutely, because it would be bigger. I mean, like we were talking about, like with Chewbacca, it would be a bigger figure. Because he's a taller figure if you extend him all the way up, and if they packaged him like in his more like hunched down mode, he would still be like a longer figure, and they'd have to pack him with all the four lightsabers and whatever else they decide to give him. So. Yeah, I would easily pay a little bit extra to get a really like high end like awesome Grievous figure too.
I agree, and I think that maybe that would be cool to see in the future is like a deluxe version of a figure. Because I definitely don't want them to sacrifice quality for price, and I think that because people who are collecting the Black Series mostly are collectors, and I think that we would see people pay a little bit more to have a more deluxe figure. I agree.
Okay, so now we're down to my number one, and this is something that you actually mentioned earlier on the list. But as I noted also that this is kind of like one of my top five favorite Star Wars characters ever, and that's Grand Moff Tarkin. Um, we've gotten so many of the characters from A New Hope now, like the more prominent characters. Obviously, we've gotten Luke, we've gotten Leia, Han, Chewie, Obi-Wan finally came out last year. And, one of the big ones for A New Hope is still Tarkin. Like, we haven't seen him yet. And I just love, like, Peter Cushing's portrayal of this guy. And it made me so happy to see him in Rogue One. Like, I didn't read spoilers or anything like that because I like to be surprised.
Hmm.
So when I saw him on the screen, I kind of lost it. Like, it was just so cool to see him. And I think that they were pretty successful in recreating him and, bringing him to life. I know a few people had some issues with the way it looked. I really didn't. I thought it was very convincing. But yeah, I mean, I really would love to see him more than any other figure in the 6-inch line. They really got to do a Grand Moff Tarkin.
I agree. And yeah, I thought that they did great in Rogue One. They made him look really lifelike to me. But yeah, you're right though. In A New Hope, honestly, we have as the bad guys, we have Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin, and I am just super surprised they have not done that from their first ever Star Wars movie that was ever made. They didn't put the other bad guy in 6-inch version, and so I think that it's more of a when will it be released than if it will be released. I feel like overall the community and the fan base has a really good reaction to Grand Moff Tarkin, and I think that everybody really wants to see a figure from him.
Yeah, it's just one of those that, if they did one, they could reuse him, kind of like what they did with Krennic. It sounds like they're going to be doing an Admiral Thrawn for Comic Con or something, and reusing the body of Krennic to do that. So I mean, they could easily, if they did a Tarkin, they could reuse the body and give us like Captain Neda and Admiral Piet and some of those other Imperial officers. So like you say, I don't think it's a matter of if, it's just like when are they going to get around to finally doing it. So that's my number one pick. That's what I'd like to see them do. And I think, comparing both of our lists, we have a few of the same choices. So if Hasbro is listening once again, hopefully they give priority to those figures we agreed on because, there's just so many that they need to do and so many that we'd like to see as fans and as collectors that, the 6-inch line has barely been tapped into when you compare it to the 3 3/4 inch line. There's just so many options.
Oh, I know. I completely agree. And I'm so excited to see this line continue on and see what they do create. And I think that they are definitely going in a really good direction. We've had a little bit of figures set below the bar, but I think as a whole, they really do nail the 6-inch line a lot more so than they have been doing the 3 3/4 inch line as of late. But I think that they've got a good idea with the 6-inch, and I think they're probably going to roll with it for quite a while.
Oh yeah, definitely. They've invested a lot into it, and right now it's kind of like their flagship line. As they've moved farther, further away from the 3 3/4 inch super articulated figures, which unfortunately we get very few of these days. But with 6 inch, they've just barely scratched the surface, and there's so many ways that they could go about bringing new figures into the collection, new characters, and uh, it seems like by and large they do a pretty good job with the line. I mean, there's a few here and there that are kind of a little bit confusing, but especially those earlier waves like the X-wing Luke and the Sand Trooper, and the R2D2, they kind of went all out and giving him accessories and nice paint detail. And I think if they stick to that, and I've kind of been seeing, it looks like they're kind of trending more toward at least doing the very nice paint apps once again, because we've gotten like the Scarf Stormtrooper. They've done like Sabine Wren and then Darth Revan. Some of these really nicely painted and very nicely detailed figures. So I think if they continue on that trend and continue giving us more of these really highly detailed, very aesthetically awesome action figures, that a lot of people will be really happy for a long time to come.
I completely agree. Yep, and I mean, you hear it from the fans, and I hear it all the time. So hopefully that they listen to kind of the reaction of um, what people are saying about the line, and in the end, they aren't terribly priced either. I am more willing to pay for a 6 inch figure at that price than a 3 3/4 inch Black Series figure at the moment. Partly because they are coming out so limited, I'd rather just get the 6 inch, but yeah, they've got a good thing going.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm kind of actually surprised about is that they haven't raised the price on 6 inch. It's already been out. I think we're going on 4 years now. And ever since it came out, the price point's been 19.99. So I'm kind of surprised they haven't raised it. Hopefully they don't get any ideas. Hopefully they keep it at that price point, because it is a very consumer friendly price point for a larger scale figure of that size. So I don't have a problem paying $20 for a nicely done 6 inch figure. And, some of these lately, like as I was saying, have just been like, so top notch and so off the charts. So, if they continue doing that, continue offering them at this price point, with a few deluxe options, hopefully, like Grievous or some of these other, environmental pieces that we'd like to see, then, there's definitely a lot of ways they could go with 6 inch in the future.
Yeah, I agree. The price point is great. Luckily, Marvel makes figures in the same scale, and they are currently the same price. Of course, Hasbro owns both, but that kind of helps when they make decisions to raise the price on the action figures. They have to probably raise both lines since they are the same scale. But yeah, no, I didn't even think about that. You're totally right. They have not raised the price on the Black Series figures for the 6 inch line. So knock on wood that they don't, because they are at a really good median there, that people are really reacting well. And again, like you said, I definitely paid $20 for a really well painted and nicely articulated figure any day.
Awesome. We're definitely in agreement there. All right, Nicole, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on to Victoria's Cantina Chatter, and writing down your top 10 wish list for the 6 inch Star Wars Black Series line along with me. Now, if people want to check you out, we mentioned that you're on YouTube. Where else can they find you as far as social media goes?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram under just my name, JediMaster738, as well as Twitter under the same name as well. So with my Twitter, I post usually when I upload my videos, it comes out together. And then my Instagram is more of a kind of like my collector life day to day. I don't necessarily post the same stuff I put on YouTube. So it's kind of an interesting median if you want something different from me and still want to, see what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again for coming on here. It was a pleasure having you as our guest.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you guys, I'm going to throw down some links at the very bottom. Be sure to check out Nicole's channel on YouTube. Check her out on social media. And as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.